pretty much it. Hey, well, listen, I want to get to my next guests, and I'm saying that in the plural sense, because we have two of them on the phone. Let me put it this way. The dictionary defines the words free spirit as a person who thinks and acts in a free way without worrying about normal social rules, a person with a highly individual or unique attitude, lifestyle, imagination, or a nonconformist. Well, this certainly applies to my next guest. Throughout her life, Angela Bowie has been a model, an actress, a musician, a poet, a journalist, and an author of several books. And as the old adage goes, behind every great man, there's a great woman. This would also apply to Angela Bowie, who not only created her own unique glam rock look, but was instrumental in helping to create her former husband David Bowie's kaleidoscope of stage personas during his hunky-dory, Ziggy Stardust, Aladdin Sane phases, styles which can only be described as iconic. And tonight she joins us to talk about not one, but two books she has currently authored. The first book, Catastrophe, or Catastrophe, if I'm pronouncing that right, is the true life story of an abandoned pussycat, written by Angie Bowie and illustrated by Rick Hunt, who is joining Angie by phone. And later we will discuss Angie's second book, POP.SEX, Popular Sexuality, Volume 1, Uno. Pop.SEX is Angie Bowie's take on the history and madness of sexual motivation and the reason for humanity's survival, and at what odds. Angela Bowie, welcome to the show.
Good evening. Hello, Sarasota. What a lovely place. I've been there. I think it's one of the most charming places in Florida.
Well, thank you. And Rick, are you there also?
I am. Good evening.
Mr. Hunt is also on the phone. And, well, Sarasota is a charming place.
It is.
Sadly,
Hi, Rick.
Hi, Angie.
Sadly, we're north of that in the slums of Bradenton. So, you know, but we like to brag that we're near Sarasota.
Well, it's all so pretty there. It's just lovely.
Wonderful.
Hi, Sarasota. Hi, Bradenton. Hello, everyone.
It is fantastic to be able to speak to you. You are someone that I have had a boyhood crush on for many, 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 many years, and we'll get to that later when we talk about your sex book. But
well, thank you. That's very nice of you.
But so let's start off with book number 1. Okay, Catastrophe. Rick is on the phone. You authored the book, and Rick illustrated the book. So how did this? What's it about? How did it come about?
Do you want to start, Rick, or shall I?
Sure. I've had the pleasure of knowing Angie for a couple of years through Facebook, and we've become really great friends. And now we are co-colleagues in creativity. Angie came up with this wonderful concept of the book Catastrophe so that we could help some animal shelters and the Malachi House in Cleveland, Ohio, which is a hospice for the homeless. And I am an illustrator and a visual artist, and I draw constantly. When I say that, I mean that every spare moment I have in my life, I am drawing. So I designed these illustrations for the cat book, and it is actually a coloring book. The drawings are quite intricate, and I hope large enough so that people can really enjoy spending some time coloring them in.
And it's if anybody goes to livestream.com, I know we have a lot of people listening audio-wise, but if you go to livestream.com and type in The Mix Show, you'll see images of the book streaming live while we're talking about this. You'll see a lot of Rick's artwork on the cover and things like that. So that's a good thing. We encourage people to go there and take a look at that. So essentially, I've seen your Facebook page, Rick, with all of the work that you do, the constant drawing that you do. You're just it's nonstop. It's a passion of yours, and so now you've incorporated that into this book. and you've left it blank, so in a sense that people could color in your illustrations.
Yes.
Yeah, there is some color. I insisted on some color because his vision is so dynamic, and it's so effervescent. And I think sometimes with coloring books, I'm sure you felt the same way. I can cast my mind back even now and remember how we took our cue from that one color picture, either on the actual cover or the frontispiece, you know, and then sometimes it would be like rendered in pastels, and then that would give one the idea of either copying that or doing it the contrary, the contradictory. You know, getting all crazy and doing it in wild, bright colors. So I said to Rick, I said, no, please, you've got to color 3 or 4. So Rick was very gracious and, you know, colored 6 or 7 so that there was plenty of scope.
And well, by having some color in there, it would basically set the pace for somebody else who wants to color it as well.
Yeah, because otherwise one gets frightened. It's overwhelmingly gorgeous and intricate.
Yeah, very intricate, yes. That is the one word I would definitely use to describe it. And the proceeds of the book are going to help not only an animal shelter, but a shelter for homeless people who you just say are terminal?
Well, there's what we have that we're starting with is Malachi House is in Cleveland. It is a hospice for the terminally ill homeless for the last 6 months of their lives. And when I went to Cleveland to promote Lipstick Legends, a guy called Wayne Metzger, who runs Worldwide Entertainment up there, World Stock Entertainment, I'm sorry. Sometimes all of these names. He is just terrific, and he took me there and introduced me to the people, and they took me on a tour through the facility, and it was 8 old townhouses bequeathed to the parish by some old lady. And the father is one of those good priests from 100 years ago, and when the parish inherited it, he turned it into a place where homeless people could stay when the weather was bad and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And over the years, this idea developed, and it has been supported by the parish in Cleveland. And the animal shelters, one is called Animal Tales. My friend Dennis McHugh and his lady wife are in Philadelphia, and they very kindly hosted my Lipstick Legends efforts at the Tattooed Mom, which is a restaurant bar in Philadelphia, and I did a book signing and a reading there. And so Catastrophe is a UK cat animal sanctuary that we became aware of as the word got out about the book, and a gal, Elaine Brown from England, who does a lot of work with them, wrote to us and said, "Oh, did we give you the idea?" And I was like, well, no, actually, I was just trying to think of a word that had cat in it. And Catastrophe was a good description of these crazy cats we inherited. So that's how those 3 charities played into it. And were it to do well, that would make me so happy, and then I would be thrilled to do another project with Rick and see if we can raise more money for other charities.
Okay, well, what is since you authored the book, what is the book about? We've covered the coloring aspect with the artistic aspect. What is the story about?
The book is about a pussycat called Pooh Kitty. And we lived in a strange, like 8-plex studio apartments in Tucson. And it was fabulous. They all had walled gardens. And they kind of took up half a block or something like that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And she came over the wall one day. She'd been abandoned by the people that owned her. And we had a walled garden with a water feature with 4 pools and fountains. And so she hid there and caught herself a lizard. I guess she was hungry. And then after 3 or 4 days of watching Michael, she decided that she needed someone to be her friend, and she made friends with him. and it's the story of everything that happened after that. And I'm so excited now that I have it in my hand. I mean, I'm standing here talking about it, and it was just an idea when I was at Malachi House. I said to Wayne Mesker, I said, I've got an idea for a story about these cats that Michael rescued. I said, I think it would make a great story if I could find an illustrator who can draw this tale. And then I found Rick. Rick found me. I don't know who found who, but we found each other, and it's done now.
And, okay, so where can they get a hold of the book?
It's available on Amazon.com. It's available at Create Space, which is the production arm of Amazon.com. But either place, I think I sent you the links.
Yes, we have the links. We do. Yes, we do have the Create Space link behind us. It's broadcasting as we speak, so they can go to the Create Space link, and I'll post that on the show page later on as well.
Thank you so much. It's so kind of you, Mick. Thank you.
No, it's the least I could do. I mean, like I said, I just love having you on the show, and I'm thrilled to be speaking to you, and I wish you much success with this particular book. And
it sounds like all ages can enjoy this. Would you say?
Oh, yes, I think so. I don't think there's anything, sort of vulgar or,
we're not.
it's cats.
Rick
it's very cute.
Rick, you didn't put any, like, penises or vaginas in there that we need to color in, do we?
No Fritz the Cat references.
None that you can obviously see.
Very nice.
You got to flip the pages really fast. That's what you got to do.
Keep the edge on it.
It's all subliminal, So
you need special glasses. That's what.
Yeah, right. With 3D special glasses, you can see a whole different picture.
Oh, man,
that'd be great.
That's going to be the next book.
Rated birds.
That's the next book. That's part 2.
Book 2, yes.
And I definitely want a copy of that.
I know.
That's terrific.
Oh, wow.
Well, listen, I mean, it's catastrophe. A catastrophe is what it is.
Yeah.
But they have
there's hyphens and
they have a hyphen right after the T. So I'm trying to be literal.
Actually, let me just say, if I may, Mick, I laughed a lot about this. Rick sent us the images, the illustrations, and they were just gorgeous. And my boyfriend, 21 years, and I are, we've got all these out on the dining room table, and we're just like amazed, and just walking around the table looking at them. And so I said to Michael, anyway, I did the prose. I've got the prose together, and so let's make a book this weekend. And he looked at me and he said, prose. I don't think so. I said, what? He said, these are exquisite. You're going to have to do the whole thing as a poem. I said, excuse me? He said, do the whole thing as a poem. So I thought, oh, Lord. So I ended up doing a 3,000-word poem because I had to make sure that the words were as cool as the images.
Oh. Hey,
it's a good story, right?
Yeah.
And it's true. I like it. I did it, I had to record it the other day for the trailer that we're doing for Catastrophe. And so I recorded the whole poem, and it's a rollicking good poem. I'm really excited.
Well, I would encourage people. It's the concept overall. There's so many different things going on. A, you've got Rick's artwork. B, you've got the fact that it's partially illustrated or colorized, and you're going to fill in the colors yourself. It's a coloring book.
It's interactive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you've got Angie's 3,000-word poem on top of that. So it just sounds like a win-win situation. And of course, it's benefiting these charities. So I would strongly encourage people to participate and pick up a copy of this Catastrophe.
Thank you so much.
Now there's also they can locate this on AngieBowie.net.
Yes. If you'd like it autographed, if you can get it through www.angiebowie.net.
So yes, if you want your autographed copy, go to AngieBowie.net. Otherwise, you can pick it up on Amazon.com. And the Create Space link, which is running on the green screen, and we can also post that on the page as well. This is fantastic. I wish you lots of success with this book. Rick, it's been great talking to you as well. I hope to speak to you again in the future.
Terrific. Thank you, Mick, for having us on. And have a beautiful night, Angie.
Oh, Rick, so nice to talk to you. Love to Lady Carolyn.
I will give her that.
Okay, darling, bye.
Thanks again, Rick. Bye-bye.
Yep, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. That was Rick Hunt. You can find him on Facebook as well. You know, RICKHUNT. Not that difficult, and you can look at a lot of his artwork. He's got a lot of '60s artwork. A little bit of everybody that he's done. You know, Beatles and Hendrix and Stones, and
cool.
You know, Warhol and Pollock and all these other artists.
And I want to
great, isn't it? It's such a beautiful selection. I mean, it's like looking at Life magazine.
Yeah.
The subject matter, isn't it? You know what I mean? He's just really out there, random, watching, drawing, seeing. Yeah.
And it's constant, you know. He never.
Yes.
Yeah, that's his life. You can tell he's an artist because that's exactly what he does.
And I want to quickly commend Angie because of the cat rescue. As a comic, I always do a little PA about going to animal shelters and humane societies and getting your pets, because my wife and I have 3 cats and we adopted them all. From cat rescues and stuff. So yeah, I commend you highly, Angie. So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. If there's ever anything I can do, please feel free to call on me, because they're a part of our family, aren't they? And I don't want to belabor the point and sound like some Wally, but I know that most of us respect animals and children and everyone that we meet and treat them how we want to be treated.
That's
and
right.
So, if one can do something, and I don't have if I were a very wealthy person, I would just tithe or do whatever one does to charities. But I kept thinking to myself, it doesn't matter that I'm not wealthy. I have to think of a way around this. And I was at St. George's School in Switzerland for 7 years. And for 5 of those years, I was very active in the Chapel and Social Services Committee, which raised money for all the different charities our school supported. And the first 3 years I was the treasurer, and the last 2 years I was, the president, and I really liked doing it. And I thought of all kinds of incredible ideas and ways. We had weekends when it was Chapel and Social Services, and you could do anything to raise money. We'd do shows. We'd get wheelbarrows and barbecue and sell food to our other, classmates and all this kind of stuff to raise money. And I thought to myself, well, okay, what can you do? And I thought, I know what I can do. I write. So I can do a book. That I could do. I can give some of the proceeds. And then I thought, yeah, but what? The same old stuff? It's got to be something different. So anyway, I don't want to belabor the point, but that was my thinking.
But your heart is in the right place, and
Absolutely.
Johnny adopts from shelters, and so do I. Every dog I've ever had. I'm not really a cat guy. But every dog I've ever had came from a shelter. I never went to a store and bought one. It just didn't make any sense. It was just there were so many there that needed homes. So
it just doesn't make any sense at all, does it?
No, my current dog just came from a shelter as well, and I think I'm on dog number 4 now. You know, so
well, you got to do it.
It is what it is.
It's terrible, isn't it? If you've got room and one can afford it, you just think to yourself, one more, come on, it's cool.
What could it hurt?
Besides the carpet.
Yeah, exactly.
But, all right, listen, let's shift gears. This is a very busy year for you. I want to talk about now POP.SEX, another book that you put out. Where do we start with that?
Well, I can only say that it was a labor of love. I've been working on it for, I mean, it's like 13, 14 plus years. It was like a joke, you know what I mean? You know those authors, you say to them, oh, how's your book coming? You know what I mean? Oh, fine, fine, thanks for asking. It felt like that, you know? And then last year, my boyfriend, Michael, and I have been together for 20 years. And it was our anniversary. And I said to him, what do you want for your anniversary present? And he said, please, God, that you should publish POP.SEX. He said, I can't stand it anymore.
Enough talk about it, get it out.
Then Putin started his anti-gay propaganda laws, then Uganda, then India, and then I thought, okay, how many more reasons do you need for finishing this book? So I started editing it all over again and tried to update it, you know, and some of the things I've written about Bush and, you know, just because I was writing, you know, 2003, 2005, 2000, so I had to do a lot of that, and finally, to my amazement, I got it completed. And it's a history and a parade of personalities that kind of moved us forward. And what surprised me was how many strong women there were and how many powerful units there were. Generals, admirals. It surprised me because it made me realize that plus ça change, the more it changes, the more it stays the same. Plus ça change, plus ça reste le même, they say in French. You know what I mean? These things happen and they move in cycles, but nothing really changes.
Right. Well, you know, like Nietzsche said, there's nothing new under the sun, you know.
That's right. Nothing. It's just, it really made me feel much more connected. You know what I mean? But then I have a passion for history and history of art and anything to do, history of literature, history of French literature. I'm crazy about it all. I love all that. So for me, studying history is a way of making sense, you know, out of
connecting the
what
dots.
I'm looking at, the panorama I'm trying to analyze. And in this case, that was it. I was trying to analyze a 20-year anniversary with someone who I'm very much in love with, and these people try to nitpick and tear down the progress that we made with LGBT privilege and benefits and the right to be and some respect. And they want to take that away, and it just, it riled me.
And, well, of course, you have been a proponent, or what's the word I'm looking for, ever since the early 1970s, when you became a public figure. You have been sounding the trumpet for bisexuality and whatnot.
Well, you know, I left Connecticut College for Women because I had an affair with a girl, and they tried to make out that it was some big deal. And I left out of a second-story window and legged it across the whole campus, got my stuff, and was out of there and gone to my godparents, and then got on a plane and went back to Cyprus, and then went to university in England. So that experience motivated me to find a way to constantly be an advocate for lesbian, transgendered, bisexual, homosexual, all the folks that wanted to live their lifestyle was sexually a little different. it's no big deal. You know, it doesn't have anything to do with the culture. Might add spice and yeast to it, but it makes the culture broader and better and bigger and fatter, a more artistic expression of the world when everyone is included.
And how does that relate to the book? Take us through the book of POP.SEX.
Well, it's a book where all of the personalities who brought some progress, some understanding, either as writers or poets or artists, as women conquerors, as
all right. This is
courtesans, all of these different folks. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. I'm just saying it's not a work of fiction. It's you're talking about historical figures.
Oh yes, no. This is a totally. It's like a factual reference book, but I don't like to write and be boring. I like to, tell things in a funny way. So I try to keep it as a good romp through history. But, yes, no, this is all true. Totally referenced, totally only the facts.
Well,
and the facts, of course, are always more surprising than fiction. Truth is more surprising than fiction.
Can you give us an example, one of the historical figures in your book? Can you talk about them?
Well, I can talk about a lot of them. I mean, for a start, going back to the beginning, one of the references that I didn't realize had become such a big deal in my life was Aphrodite. I grew up in Cyprus, and the worship of the goddess Aphrodite spread all across the Mediterranean. And what was fascinating about the worship of Aphrodite was there was a prime minister, a dude in Athens called Solon. And Solon decided that instead of taxing people too much, if he owned temples and the temple maidens and dancers and musicians and the caterers all worked for the tax department, he could pocket the money for the king and for the government, but no one would actually think it was tax. So these were the first state-sponsored brothels as part of the temples, which were big tourist attractions during the times of the Greek Empire and when Cyprus was under Greek control, and when the temples of Aphrodite spread from Lebanon all the way through Greece and a lot of the Slavic states. So the political aspects of these characters, it brings so much to bear in our understanding of history in general.
Well, it really doesn't sound like anything's changed in all those years, really. I mean, when it comes to,
No, I think
it hasn't.
Yeah, she's saying that history just keeps repeating itself. Is all it is.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Well, and I think that's what makes one feel much calmer, because you suddenly realize it hasn't gotten any worse. It's just going around for another time.
Just chasing our tails, so to speak. Would you say?
Yeah, and it's a weird feeling because it wasn't what I expected. I went in there with all, I had been working on it for so long, it's not like I thought the facts were going to change. But I went in there with this whole, my feathers up, like, well, that's it. Now they're trying to pick on everyone who's different. I won't have it, boom, 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 and I'm going to edit this book now. And then when I read it through, on that 15th, 16th, 18th read-through that you do, when you're panicking, trying to make sure everything is just right, and you said it correctly, I thought to myself, gosh, what it proves is there's really nothing to panic about. It's business as usual.
So
it's just carrying on in the same old way.
So where are we going then? Where are we going as a culture if what is it? Every action has a reaction. I think what is it?
Where we're going is, I think, this way. We've had an amazing technological breakthrough with the Internet. We're connected in ways that allows us, either with voice or voice and sound, to share our lives with people all around the world. And what's totally amazing to me is that basically in the end, I've known this because I've had the great good fortune of traveling a lot and touring. So by chance, you get a chance of watching, and seeing and observing all kinds of different lifestyles and cultures. And it's a great gift. So I think what is amazing to me is that basically we're all about the same stuff. We're all about, cooking and complaining and griping about the government, about the local facilities, when shops aren't convenient, when there's no health care. I mean, all over the world, we all gripe and bitch about the same stuff. So if we agree about so much and we have an Internet where we can share it, the next thing that happens is that we compare notes and we say, oh, well, for all the taxes you pay, what do you get? And people tell each other. And then we say, oh, well, wow, we pay this much tax, and we don't get that. So I think what will happen is that by the process of sort of educational sediment sinking to the bottom of a big jar of knowledge, we'll suddenly see that we have every right to ask for, to get something real in return for our tax dollars, not just running around messing in other people's foreign business because we use the big stick of fear. If we don't do it, at any moment we could be overrun. We could. And if we really wanted to do something about that, we could just bring back national service. That if everybody was trained, we wouldn't have to fear being overrun because the entire country would be ready to defend if necessary. Instead, we leave it to rogue operatives, and outsource and militias. Why don't we make it a bit more organized? Just everyone do national service.
Well, like they do in Israel.
Well, like they do in Cyprus. They didn't have girls in the military in Cyprus, but they did in Israel. I mean, in a lot of places, national services, it's an idea. I'm not saying it's the only idea or what we should do, and we've had the draft before, and it upset people. We had prohibition before, and that didn't work, but you wouldn't think so the way they're making such a big song and dance about the marijuana issues. You see what I'm saying here? It's fascinating that this book, POP.SEX, brings up so many, and throughout the book I have to point it out. It's fascinating to me. There's politics, there's religion, there's women's rights, and a whole feminist agenda which comes to light as one looks at all of this.
Heavy stuff. It's so complex and so interwoven. I mean, you're not just dealing with one particular topic.
Yeah, so forgive me when you said that about, can you talk about a person? Yeah, I should talk about a person. But the person and the profiles and the places, I described them all. I really did. I mean, all over. I'm very thorough. I didn't want to just be talking about America or England or Europe. I researched all the amazing women generals from Asia, the empresses. I mean, incredible broads. We just never learned about this. No one took the time to say, well, we may not have had a lot of women generals here in the Western world, but in actual fact, over there in Asia and Vietnam, they've had plenty. And it just, I learned so much. I think that was another reason I dragged my feet about publishing it. You know what I mean, Mick? I kept thinking, I'm sorry, what is your name, the other gentleman?
My name Mick, and we have Johnny.
Oh, God, I'm sorry. I wanted to be inclusive, and I thought, oops, I never got your name. Forgive me.
That's okay.
But, yeah, so I really kept, I kept working, and the more I learned, then I would go back and redo it, adding. It was so exciting. It was so much fun to do. I've been so excited to hear people say how much they love it. It gets me thrilled. I just think, I'm so glad my excitement and the pleasure it gave me to discover all of this and to share it with the reader seems to be generating that same kind of interest and excitement.
Well, let me interject and let the audience know that we are talking to Angie Bowie, and we're discussing her new book, POP.SEX. POP.SEX. The book can be found on angiebowie.net and also Amazon.com. Will it be available in a Kindle form, do you think?
Yes, I believe so. Michael said that it was something about the version for Kindle. He had to reformat it, and because it's a very big book, so it's going to take him a couple of days, and he's been working out of town.
And
so
you said this is just volume one.
A month or two. I'm sorry.
You said this is just volume one, right?
Well, no, it says volume one.
Okay.
I thought I was going to do it in 2 volumes, but I was able finally to get it down to like 150,000 words. And I don't know where that volume 1 came from because I never posted it. And I thought, oh, well, never mind. I'm just going to... Because we took it off when we got the proof of the book. We took it off and it came back. It was still there on the second time, and I wasn't ready to wait.
I think Amazon put it up there as volume 1, so, yeah.
It just sounds cool.
Yeah, it sounds, yeah, very prestigious.
Yes.
Well, it would mean it would then get into the realms of being 1,000 pages. Because when I managed to get it down to like God knows how many, 800 and something, but it was bigger font. I said, Michael, just compress it. So we compressed it, and we got it down to 465 pages, and it made it much cheaper because it was like 800 pages, and it made it go up like 50% the price of paper. It was like, oh, what a drama. It's fun being a publisher. It's like, I produce albums, so I guess I know how to produce stuff, but sometimes it leaves you shaking your head.
Well, yeah, it's not your first book, for God's sakes,
No, it's not.
You had Lipstick Legends, you had Free Spirit, and Backstage Passes, yep.
And POP.SEX. Oh, and then I wrote a book called Pocket Essential Bisexuality. It was just like cameo profiles of bisexual people, Oscar Wilde and Alexander the Great, and yada, yada, yada. And it was real thin, little tiny book. But it's good. I've heard from people that they really loved that book, that it was the first thing they could afford to buy and made them feel that they weren't alone.
Well, I have a suggestion for a thinner and tinier book, than your bisexual book. And that would be a book about a small boy who thumbs through Rolling Stone magazine and other magazines and sees pictures of a glammed out Angela Bowie and falls madly in love with her, even though he doesn't even know anything about sex. Wouldn't know what to do with a vagina if he saw one, but just knew that you were so different and just so cutting edge from people of that time. You and David, of course, you were instrumental in helping him with that look. But I just fell in love with you. You were just this woman that I was just enamored by when I would see your pictures in the magazines, and because you were just so different, and I think that's what really it stood out. Is just unique, individual, and female. Being a heterosexual boy, that's exactly what I wanted.
Those are the qualities.
That's it. So
I'm just going to say thank you and shut up.
Well, you're always addressing the gay, lesbian, and transgender issues, but you've got to.
You're pushing us aside.
Yeah, you've got to give us our 5 minutes here. You got to give us heterosexuals.
Well, it's not even, and it's not even that. It's not that at all. To be quite honest with you, I think what you just described is our most magic moments. The moments before sex has anything to do with our deep affection.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that it's innocent, because I don't think it's innocent at all. I have never behaved as crazy as one does from like 14 to 24. You know what I mean? There's like 10 years of madness in there. I don't know what it is. It's like, I guess it's just raging hormones.
Yeah, pretty much.
And you get the raging hormones, and that's it. All good sense goes out of the window. And not even like behaving badly. Behaving well becomes like a religious conviction. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not just your will. You make it into something worse. No one's making you do it. You do it to yourself. You do a deal with yourself. Like, oh, yeah, right, okay, well, no, I'll be fine. I'll be... And you are, but you can get crazy like that. And I remember those years were so, oh, man. Oh, 16 at college in Connecticut and all the foo-foo hoo-ha that occurred there. Then back to Cyprus, and my father was like, don't think you're going to sit here. I'm not having a bunch of suitors from God knows what countries all over the world lined up outside my door wanting to take you out. College. Decide which one. So, you know what I mean? I was basically, told to get on my bike and get back to school. And all that stuff. By then I was 17. But you see what I mean? It got progressively, it just kept getting crazy. And then finally, you get to that point, don't you, when you're 23 or 24 and you've had sex and you stop being a crazy person.
Maybe for some people.
No,
I was trying to give you a cute way out there. Oh yeah, right. Okay.
There's
we're guys.
We're guys, and
we should have been born with penises on our forehead.
Yeah, I mean.
Sorry about that. I thought I was being clever.
No, I mean, no. For me personally, I mean, I was never into drugs. I was never, I tried alcohol, but I just couldn't handle it. And when some poor girl, 17-year-old. Took pity on this poor 16-year-old and finally got laid. Right. I just thought, wait a minute, this is what the fuss is all about? Yeah. I like this. This is a hell of a lot better than drugs and alcohol.
This is what they're uptight about?
Yeah, count me in. Yeah. I'm digging this.
Yeah, man.
So, yeah, it's women for me, and had been for decades until I finally decided to get married.
Fool!
I think my testosterone finally, my levels probably dropped, and I was like, I think I'll settle down and get married.
Sure.
So, but, another aspect, of your personality that I think I can relate to in some respect is the fact that you mentioned on your website, when I went to angiebowie.net, you said you always felt different from other people, or felt different to other people. You said you liked it, and you think you adjusted to being an outsider more and more as the events that formed in your life, as they unfolded. Could you, in a way, I can relate to that, because I never ever wanted to follow a crowd. I never wanted to follow anybody. I never wanted to be anybody, and
apart from yourself. Yes, I know just what you mean.
Yeah, and you always seemed to be you were always out there in the forefront and just doing whatever Angie wanted to do. I mean, and you were just you were carving your own path.
I grew up on an island, And the funny thing about an island, it's like an aquarium. It's a microcosm. The whole island probably didn't have 1 million people. It probably had 500,000 at best in the 1950s. So this island was perfect, just perfect for children, just totally perfect. There were beaches, and you could run around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was just nothing about it was anything but fabulous. It was just unbelievable. And then the British decided to clamp down on Iota. And Iota were the freedom fighters for Cyprus to become a republic. And the British wanted either for the Turkish Cypriots to be in a position of power because they were a minority, or for Greece to kind of ante up, pony up something if they were going to attach it to Greece. Well, Archbishop Makarios, who was a Greek Cypriot and a Greek Orthodox archbishop, had no intention of letting the British have anything to say except for the fact that they would leave and Cyprus would become independent, which it did in 1960. And so you get a feeling when everyone, you can understand everyone's point of view, but you're not allowed to say it because it was company policy that we, as foreign staff, overseas staff, didn't pick sides or voice political opinions. And that's when I started to feel like an outsider. Because we could think and talk about it at our dining room table, but we couldn't think or talk about it or exchange that where the views might then be called views of CMC.
Oh, okay.
The company that my father worked for. And so, yes, what you were saying about being an outsider, I think a lot of people in America grew up the same way because maybe the town they lived in or the place they went to school or something about it was so different to where they had come from or where their parents had come from. You know what I mean? And I think as a result, and not wanting to follow the path that's too well walked. What's the word I want? To use.
The path that's well worn.
Yeah, you know, that walking in that same path. Why not go up the hill a little bit or down here, down by the stream?
Yeah.
To heck with that well-used path. Yes, I know just what you mean.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I think that was part of your appeal to me as a young boy, because, you know, I mean, obviously, you know the comedian Mort Saul.
Yes.
Okay. I again, there were lots of periodicals in my house, lots of magazines, Time, Newsweek, Life, Rolling Stone, et cetera, et cetera. I was always reading and thumbing through magazines and, you know, looking at pictures and reading articles. And there was an interview with Mort Saul, and this is basically created who I am, for better or for worse. And somebody had asked him, you know, what party he belonged to, whether it be Democrat or Republican or this and that. And he says, I don't belong to any party. And he says, I refuse to belong to any party because the minute you do, you become one of them. You're putting on their armband and you're displaying their notion of what they believe in and what they want you to believe in. He says, so I don't join any party, you know, and
right.
You know, so, and I just as a young kid, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Why on earth would I want to follow people just to be accepted? And, you know, and of course there's that old Groucho Marx line, I refuse to belong to any club that would have me as a member. And and I love that.
That line, that's such a good quote, isn't it?
Yeah. So, you know, and when when I would see pictures of you and David, I was like, these people are going against the grain. There was an element of rebellion there, which has always appealed to me. I've always been, you know, a few years later, again, your imagery was transcended into my generation of punk rock. I started listening to a lot of punk rock, and I got into that. And you know, a lot of the chicks that I would see at the punk clubs that I would date looked like Angie Bowie,
right,
from 4, 5, 6 years earlier. You know,
I know, it's good, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, it makes me giggle now. I used to get real embarrassed and try to be, you know, sort of modest, but now I'm embracing it a bit more.
Hell yeah.
You're a trendsetter.
It is cool.
Yeah.
It is cool. I like it too. It's fun and it's cool.
Yeah, I mean, it was less of the glam look, of course. You know, it was toned down because of the punk. It was all the torn jeans and the, you know.
But to add something to your statement, Mick, it's also about, like, we don't want to, like Angie said, we don't want to go down that path that our parents went down. That's what our parents did, you know.
Right.
And
well,
like,
that's it, isn't it? Everything is just exactly the opposite, you know, isn't it? It has to be to break all the rules. But then, like the way that things were in Cyprus, the politics, I agreed with my parents because my father was very, you know, he understood people wanting freedom. And I understand that they want to be free. Who would want to be a colony? We had a war of independence to get rid of the British. He said, of course they've got to get rid of the British. But you couldn't say that. So we just talked about it at the dining room table.
Yeah. And you know, and again, you take that and your imagery and who you are in terms of pop culture, you know, you know, if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong, but you exemplified that element of rebellion of let's just try something else, let's do something different. I'm gonna cut my hair really short and spike it and you know, et cetera, et cetera,
which nobody was doing,
which no one was doing because you know, in 1971 you and David, and that may have been the plan all along, looked like you stepped out of a spaceship. You know, you looked like you came from another planet, and that was so cool to a kid like me. To see a woman like you doing that, it was just, it's just so appealing. And again, you know, I wouldn't know a vagina if it bit me. In fact, I wish it would have bitten me. But
because what happens is that if you take couture seriously, I studied couture when I was at school, so I knew how to sew. But what we did also is we spent all our time going through magazines, choosing all of the haute couture stuff that we liked. So then, when I saw what was going on in music, I was appalled. The only thing that looked great was Tamla Motown.
Yeah, yeah.
And Sonny and Cher, but that was looking like hippies. I mean, we're not talking about the cool Sonny and Cher show. We're talking about 1968, 1969.
Yeah.
You know, we're talking about still furry boots with, you know, stuff and chamois jerkins and all that kind of stuff. You remember those particular Bono outfits? They were pretty funny.
Oh yeah, with the big furry vests and everything.
Right, you know what I mean. And then the other people were the Tamla Motown. They looked great. They looked fabulous. You know, they went on stage. They had outrageous outfits. Everyone else, all these hippie bands, I was just like, I'm to theater. You know, I was like, I can't believe this. They can't go on looking like that. You know, they go on stage in a pair of jeans. You can't tell if it's a roadie or a performer.
Yeah, yeah.
So then I thought, maybe there's an opportunity here. And so then I started thinking, because I was talking to Freddie, and Freddie was talking about this fabulous Italian designer, Valentino, and box suits and zoot suits and six pleats. And then I thought, well, what if we just made it out of the most outrageous material we could find, and it would look like, God knows what it would look like, alien gangsters.
Yeah.
So then David said, no, I'm going to do Ziggy Stardust. And he jumped in and he said, very, very brilliantly, it was perfect. He said, let's do like a band, the same outfits, bomber jackets, and Sterling Cooper pants tucked in. And I said, you got it. It sounds really good. So Freddie made those outfits.
I'm sorry.
You're listening to AM 1490 WWPR.
That's our Automated.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm talking your ear off. Let me let you go. I realize I couldn't hear for an hour.
To hell with them. Hang on a second. No, I want to talk. No, if you're bored, you hang up. But I want to talk to you. So, so David's got the concept of Ziggy Stardust, and you're going ahead with the.
Well, so then it was like we got a pale blue one for Trevor. We got a pink one for Woody Woodmansey, Pinky. It was just great, like Pinky, and then a gold one for Ronno. And then we made sure that his was sort of a bit more striking and more noticeable as the front end. So that had a pattern on it. So that was fine, but that wasn't really what I was interested in, because that was his concept for that one album. What I was interested in was how they looked walking into the show, walking out of the show, going to a record launch party, going out. Mm-hmm. I wanted them to be advertising us all the time. So I got Freddie to make these Valentino suits. So all the other stuff was the peripheral. It was the window dressing, not for the show, for the lifestyle. So that black and white Valentino style suit that Freddie did for David, the one with the ice blue, it looks like it's some kind of alien fabric. All of those were like scenes in my mind of him arriving places and being photographed.
Mm-hmm.
So it was...
And it worked.
Well, and I always used to say, look, I said, it's money for old rope. You've got to wear something anyway, so why don't you wear something fabulous so the photographers get used to the idea that you won't be boring.
And that's, yeah.
So you know what I mean? Because
no, you're right.
Then, well, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, it was a total 180 from what was going on at the time. Like you said, it was bell-bottoms and sandals and, T-shirts. And like you said, you couldn't tell the band from the roadies. So there was just no style as far as anything visual to watch them on stage. And, David...
Well, they hadn't even started using a follow spot.
Right.
I mean, you got to understand, they still flooded the stage with all colored lights and thought that was fine.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, well, it's a band. Oh, yeah. Oh, like an orchestra. Yeah. Flood it with light. Oh, there you go. Yeah, there you go. No. How about a follow spot? Oh, no. We don't have people to run follow spots. Okay, I have someone to run the follow spot. It was constant. It was a work in progress. There it is.
Well, you were reshaping, live performances is what you were doing, and you were just taking this concept and jazzing it up and making it more entertaining.
Yes, I think that was I think that was the plan, and I think we did a good job.
Did a great job.
Well, yeah. Anybody who watches Pennebaker's film, what is it, Ziggy Stardust? D.A. Pennebaker. Yeah. If anybody who watches that film, it's evident. Everything that you're talking about is in that film.
Yes, that's true.
Everything,
it is.
Everything you worked on, it's right there. It's visual. Also, I was watching. I had seen this documentary. With Lou Reed before he passed away, and Lou Reed had also given you credit for creating a look for him when he was going through his Transformer album period.
Yeah, well, it was the photo shoot for the album cover. Yeah.
Yeah, so he gave you credit for that. So you helped, and that's an iconic image on that album cover as well for Transformer. And you're the brains behind that. How well did you know Lou Reed?
They've got a name for people. I'm not quite sure what one is, but I was like the ambassador for Main Man, to pick him up, to install him. I found him a house before he came, and I found him you know, someone to come and cook and yada yada. And I found a really fabulous house down on the river in Richmond. I thought he would like that. It was very pretty with a garden that sort of sloped into the Thames. It was fun. And he arrived from, I think he had stopped in Amsterdam, and he had a boy and a girl with him. They were brother and sister, and he said, I want you to meet my boyfriend and my girlfriend. They're twins. Aren't they adorable? I said, yes, they are. Jump in the car, and I'll take you to the house. So from that time on until they were in the studio maybe 2-3 weeks, it might have been longer, but I don't think so. It was a good tight schedule, and Ronno was there, so all the parts that they did for backing stuff was written right away, and yeah, it was all pretty much taken care of in that amount of time. So, but I looked after them, and you know, took them around, and he wanted to go shopping and that kind of stuff, and we started to really work on the album and got some stuff together, and then once I watched him and saw what he liked, then I could go a bit further, and we picked up extra stuff, and I said, just trust me on this. I said, we'll use these in the photo shoot, and then we got together and did the photo shoot. And then I saw him a couple of times in New York. We went out to dinner. We'd sit, and he'd say funny things. The most amazing thing he ever said to me is I was just about to take a mouthful of salad, and he said, it's so important to do lots of drugs so we fight toxins that are going to kill us.
Do lots of drugs, but the drugs are the toxins.
Well, no, but that's not what he meant. This was very... So I said to him, now, Lou, I assume that you're talking about what is being done to the air and to the water. He said, yes. He said, if we take a lot of drugs, what will happen is maybe we'll adapt to all these other poisons. I said, well, it's a theory. What can you say? It's a theory. I have no idea. I said, sure, whatever. Sounds good to me.
I've heard worse theories, trust me.
I have, too. And I love that because he always had something interesting to say. You know what I mean? You may not agree with it, but it was interesting.
All right. So in short, he really wasn't a pain in the ass to you then.
Oh no.
Okay.
No, he was lovely to me. Very. A lot of people have said, "Oh, he was real grumpy," but I didn't know him then. He wasn't grumpy around me at all.
Well, who was a pain in the ass? Besides the ex-husband, I don't want to talk about him. I want anybody else.
I don't think there was really anybody that I didn't care for Tony DeFries. Tony DeFries held meetings where were supposed to, all of my friends who worked for Main Man were supposed to think of ways to get David to divorce me. So I wasn't very fond of Tony DeFries.
Well, Main Man was the management company that managed David. And
well, it was
his
management company that David and I and Tony DeFries set up.
Okay.
But Tony DeFries thought it was his, but David was supposed to work like a dog to support Tony DeFries and any of the acts that Tony wanted to sign. So David was getting the raw end of the stick, and that made me see red. I was not going to have David work to death to support some jackass who was just wandering around signing people and expecting them, a lot of them, to live on David's earnings. That made me very angry.
What kind of music do you listen to?
All kinds. I've got to tell you, Mick, I do have to go.
Oh,
I've
okay.
got something I've got to do.
All right,
I
well, listen.
just looked at the clock. I thought we were done at 10 o'clock, so I wanted to chat some more because you said you were still able to chat, but I have to go now.
Okay, POP.SEX. You can go to angiebowie.net, pick up a copy there. You can go to Amazon.com and Catastrophe as well. I would encourage you to pick up both. One is definitely for a good cause, and the other one will definitely is a page turner, talking about the sexual madness throughout history, correct?
Yeah, and good stuff too. I mean, it's fun. I think you'll enjoy it. I really do. I hope so.
Good stuff. So they can find you on Twitter.
Get your copy very soon. You and Gunny will be able to read it and tell me what you think.
Yes, please. I look forward to receiving that.
It's here, waiting to go out. My car doesn't work. I have to get a new battery, and I can't get it till Michael comes home on Friday. So it's all ready to go. I've got everything fixed. I've written in it. And I can't get it to the post office.
Not a problem. I look forward to receiving it, and I look forward, if you would, please, we'd love to have you back on the show again in the future.
Oh, thank you so much. And you both have been just terrific. Thank you so much for having me. Good night, everybody.
Thank you, Angie. Have a good night now.
Bye-bye.
Angie Bowie, everybody. AngieBowie.net. Simple as that. Go to AngieBowie.net for anything Angie Bowie. All of her books, all of her CDs. The new releases are there, and you can also go to Amazon.com for the links, or not for the links, for the actual books themselves.
What a life!
As well.
What a life!
Just amazing, you know. Man. And she keeps talking about writing about these strong women. She's one of them.
She is. Wow.
You know, she's no wallflower.
I'd let her kick my ass.
Well, I don't know. I don't want my ass kicked, but. You know, but like I said, as a young boy, you know,
sure.
You just turn those pages and you're like, wow, what's that?
Yeah.
You know, she just...
You coming out of the bathroom in a minute.
Yeah.
Closer to